Welcome back to Grand Tactician and our Confederate campaign. Man, it's been exciting, it really has, and now there's so many things for us to do. Now what we're going to do after that monumental victory in the West, our first major victory with Sterling Price, is we're going to go for the Fort Poe garrison. I'm going to wait for these guys to merge together though, because the Western Army and the Missouri State Guard just seem to work really well together. So let's make sure that they get together once again. Now we are sending the Army of the Potomac back to actually resupply and defend this area from potential Union attacks from the north. I mean, we did just walk by Washington, D.C. There's no doubt they weren't happy with that. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And now, of course, the determination is, what are we going to do with the available manpower we have left? What are we going to do with the remaining cities? You know, for instance, we did take Frederick, Maryland, but maybe it's time to move into Cumberland, Maryland as well. Although I think before we do that, we've got to make sure that Johnston's army is stronger, and we're going to have to add some units here to Johnston's army overall. As you can see, we definitely have some areas capable of... No, I'm going to take that back. We don't have areas with volunteers. But we should be getting those regulars pretty soon, once the drafts are passed. It's going to take a few turns, though, so for now, we're just going to sit here and remain calm. We also have the Army of the Northwest, and believe it or not, Garnett has been given some additional troops. So maybe we'll also go ahead and set him up with some artillery. Let's do that right now, and let me turn off this app. So if we want to, with Garnett, we could try to take Grafton, Virginia. You know, all things considered, it might not be such a bad idea. Of course, just 4,000 men doesn't seem like it's going to be that useful. But like I said, man, we've got to make decisions here at the spur of the moment. We've got to be quick. And I think this is probably going to be the right choice for the army. I am still very worried about good old Johnston. Again, he's not ready for any sort of fighting, so we can't really go for Cumberland, Maryland. But more importantly, we're still waiting for reinforcements to arrive. Let's just make sure that all of the policies are selected. So we had been going for industrialization. We did do the Regulars Act. There we go. So now I think we need to choose another act over here. And actually, we're going into Military 2, which that's going to take way too long. What about the Letters of Marque? So this would allow us to start pirating. Got Military 1 active, so maybe we should actually go for Militia Act 2. No, it looks like we're going down that. It looks like we are stuck on Military Act 2 unless we change that. The other option is to go for an Organized Blockade or Diplomacy. Or no, Diplomacy seems to be the next option if we want to do that. We definitely don't want to go down the diplomatic path. So let's stick with Military 2, although it's going to take a while, and in the meantime we are still focusing on King Cotton, the Tariff Act, and printing notes. We're also focusing on Militia Act 2, but that's going to take 204 days. So again, a little longer than we'd like. Nonetheless, we'll have to live with it. Come on now, Army of the Potomac, what's having you guys take so long? The Union extends contracts to 3 years. The government prepares for a long war. I would imagine so. New regiments are formed, and of course with our victory so far, it kind of makes sense that the enemy is going to ask to increase enlistment as much as possible there. We've got to do the same thing. Let's wait for this month to end, and hopefully we're going to be getting some much-needed support. Let's see how these guys are doing, by the way, the Missouri State Guard and the Western Army. Moving through the West here is not easy, man. That's one thing we've also noticed, is just the actual damage done here is pretty dramatic. Beauregard has reached his destination. You know what we're going to do with the Missouri State Guard? We're going to start heading for Fort Poe. In the morning, once they begin to head out, I'm also going to move out with the Western Army. So I'm hoping they will arrive at around the same time. Pretty sure we could synchronize movement here. That seems like a little too much work for, for my standards. Alright, there we go. Hold on now. Alright, storming around the place right now. So actually that might be of some assistance. Let's take a look here. It looks like we got a force at Greenville, the Army of Florida under Braxton Bragg. I was aware we had these guys, but we haven't really used them in quite a while, and maybe it's time to move them to a more opportune location. I'm starting to think that might not be such a bad idea, or maybe even try to take one of the forts with them. Let's get over here. So, how are we doing in Grafton? We are starting to take it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move Braxton Bragg up here. I was hoping we could use trains, but it doesn't look like we actually have any trains. As far as I can tell, no railroad capacity. One of the negatives of playing as the Confederacy, of course. However, the good news here is, guys, we are currently taking Grafton. That is great news. The Pony Express closes. That started operating... Okay, well that has nothing to do with the war, I think. The Telegraph replaces riders. Interesting. So the Pony Express was a complete financial failure. Well, good to know. Not everything can go as planned, like, for instance, the Union campaign. Unfortunately, it looks like these armies, why in the hell are they going over there? They are retreating because of starvation. Now, we've got to get these guys back. I'm not sure why they're going over here, but you know what? Maybe we just allow them to take this area on. Very strange. And sometimes the game still does things that I'm not too sure about. Convention held in London. Mexico under threat of an invasion. British, Spanish, French to send troops. Oh, okay, this has to do with Mexico in particular, I believe. We're still going to continue on through here, but it looks like, sure enough, the Army of the Potomac is going to be facing the Army of Northeastern Virginia, guys, and they have a massive force. 41,000 men. I believe we only have 18,000 men to stand against them. This is going to be truly a battle to remember. Welcome to the Battle of Manassas Junction. Well, at least we finally got a fight that is true to the actual American Civil War. I really like that. And of course, we've got a number of different, potential outcomes here for this battle. However, I think that remains the one and only victory location, the Lewis Ford area there. And this allows us to go for sort of the conclave setup that I like to set up here. Usually just starting out like this, and once things go well, we use one of the flanks to envelop the enemy. Anyway, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm no tactical genius by any stretch of the imagination, but I figure we might as well at least begin to set up, because we've got a superior force, and that makes things, of course, much more complicated for us. This is the first time we've faced a superior Union force, at least, 2-to-1 superior, so let's see how this goes. Now, just so I don't get any surprises, I'm going to take William Loring's cavalry here and just quickly move them over to the Lewis Ford. So in case the enemy tries to do something crazy, like attack us at the Lewis Ford area and force us to reform our entire brigade, let's make sure we spot them first. And actually, hold on a second, Patterson has arrived. Reports of a troop from a corps belonging to Patterson. That's going to be the reinforcements that the enemy are getting. And for sure, we know they're arriving from this and this part of the battlefield. Let's hope that they're arriving where we think they are. As always, my friends, we shall return when the fighting begins. Just getting that cavalry out to keep a look on the enemy forces. So the federal forces are moving up, and in fact, I pushed forward with Jubal A early, guys, just to make sure that we had additional support on this right flank, and sure enough, that's exactly where the enemies are coming from. So I'm going to start separating skirmisher units here wherever we can, and just making sure that these units are, of course, patrolling the woods for the enemy, and of course, making the enemy feel right at home here while we go ahead and fire away at them from a distance. Unfortunately, we can't detach too many units. Let's take a look over here. Skirmishers. There we go. And skirmishers. Alright, folks. I think we'll let the skirmishers start the fight. Do the initial part of the battle, at least. Start pushing them forward. There we go, boys. There we go. And you know what? I want to be at that tree line before the enemy gets there, so I am also going to push forward with the infantry. so quiet right now, but I know that's about to change. Let's also move out with these skirmishers. We know exactly where the Federals are going to be, so I say we use the woods to our advantage, try and, of course, just start firing and doing some serious damage to the enemy. Let's face it, the enemy has a damn horde here. There are a lot of Federals, a lot of them, and they're moving towards us en masse. They don't actually know we're here yet. They know that we've got some cavalry here under Loring, but I think that's the extent of their knowledge. And in fact, now that they've spotted Loring, they might start setting up prematurely just to make sure that they're prepared for any sort of combat action by us. I think what I'm going to do, though, I really want to move these guys over as well. Let's grab Walker's men. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to position them on this side of the bridge for two reasons. Number one, so that we can get a flank attack on the enemy. And number two, just in case they're continuing forward with some units to meet our men in the area over here. So for now, again, just getting those skirmishers in the fight. I want first blood for this fight. I really do. And I'm pretty sure our skirmishers will be able to grab it, but we've got some massive units we're facing here. The Federals passed the Conscription Act, you know, during the last few turns, of course, so it looks like they've got a lot of new soldiers for their armies. It certainly shows in terms of the size of some of these units. So let's get up there and let's start doing some damage. They're going to be a little surprised, I hope, by us firing from the woods, but I'm hoping that that's actually going to, of course, increase casualties for the enemy. Here we go, going for Tyler's detachment. And again, I still want to move forward with our infantry. While we can have the advantage of using the forest, we might as well take it, frankly. Do the same here. And with Jones, there we go. Our boys got first blood. I heard some gunshots happen. Well, let's hope it was our guys. I'm pretty sure it was. But it looks like the enemy also detached skirmishers there. So let's hit that unit. And actually, I think we might get Loring's brigade to get off their horses, to dismount here. We're going to push them forward, and I think we're going to have them assist in this defense. Remember, Loring's brigade is made up of native units. So these guys absolutely know how to use the forest to their advantage. And they are amazing on a horse. Well, the battle begins. Potentially the largest battle of the war so far, if everything goes as planned. We'll bring these skirmishers in to deal with 2nd Brigade. But we've got guys as large as 3rd Brigade approaching. And I think we're going to end up crossing the river a lot sooner than I expected. I'm also going to bring Jackson over. Bring Henry Jackson to have additional cavalry here. The cavalry worked out so well in the first battle, and on his way over, he can actually get a look at what the enemy's got there. And I love those uniforms. Let us know if you enjoyed the uniforms, particularly not these, but the baby blue ones that we had before. I'm thinking of making that the official Confederate colors for this campaign. Let's get my favorite commander, Jubilee, early up there. He's going to be the first actual infantry brigade that the enemy will face. So I think this will be an important moment. Although both of our units are getting, you know, some sort of benefit from the trees here. There might not be too many casualties happening on either side. Not until our infantry brigades actually start meeting in battle and doing some damage to each other. By the way, guys, I want to take this time to really thank everyone for being so supportive with this particular series. If you are new to the channel, or you're not new to the channel, either way, share the channel, share the series, and let's try to get as many likes and views on these videos as possible. A lot of work goes into these videos. Rant over. Thank you for watching. Here we go. All right, getting there with the cavalry. Now I'm starting to think I don't necessarily want to get these guys off their horses, because we could potentially charge into the rest of the enemy units. And look at this. Enemies spreading their army out. They must be spreading it out like this. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to start firing that early on. Maybe we kind of gave up our position to the enemy. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see if that was a mistake or not. No, I think we've got to try to maximize just the infantry presence in the area. So let's have Loring also start firing. He's going to have to push forward, of course. But Jubilee Early's doing the exact same thing. And, of course, they can get back on their horses whenever they need to. With over 2,000 men, Loring's unit is pretty formidable. Despite being, of course, a cavalry unit, they act pretty well as an infantry unit. You guys are about to see that up close and personal here. Alright, 7th Brigade, we gotta get you closer to the action, son. Men are moving into position, but we might want to just go ahead and save some time by getting at least some of these artillery pieces across right now. Okay, prepare to make contact, boys. I'm hoping we can just break this detachment with one shot, although with mixed weapons, you know, that's not always the best. Some of these guys might have muskets, for all we know. You know, they don't actually even have the mini ball or anything like that. They just have some really old-fashioned muskets. That can absolutely be the case here. And as you can see, devastating hits there on the enemy. I love it. And their skirmishers are falling back. Let's move forward with our own skirmishers and start targeting 2nd Brigade. We can see them up there on the road. And damaging a unit like that early on like this is absolutely going to be a winning strategy. Alright, Jones. Move up, son. I want to keep this unit under fire just because if we do keep them under fire, they're going to be focused here on these guys and they're not going to be paying attention to our guys flanking them from the woods. So this might actually work out pretty damn well. In fact, I'm going to take Jones and I'm going to go even farther to the flank. But where are Early's men? Jubal Early. There he is. Let's bring Early's men as well. And actually, we'll have Early's men set up on the cornfield. In fact, had I seen that position earlier, I would have done it before because we get to take cover behind the fence there. And believe it or not, in this time period, a fence is damn good cover. So don't mind if I do take advantage of that. And look at that, man. That was fast. The skirmishers got there very quickly. Let's lay into 2nd Brigade. I think at least the enemy AI is getting pretty smart here. They're sending the men into the woods to get that defensive bonus, and I do see that line extending all the way out. In fact, the HQ's there. So what they might be doing is coming down this way to take the Lewis Ford. That, of course, would force us to change our plans completely. And just to be prepared for that possibility, I'm going to take Holmes and Bonham here. Both of these guys have plenty of combat experience. And just kind of send them to watch that area. I don't typically dedicate 2 units just to watch an area, but I think this might be one of those situations where that's exactly what's called for. Anyway, guys, I want to thank everybody for continuing to watch the series. Of course, we can't keep all of these episodes longer than 20 minutes. I expect this one will probably be even longer than that. Otherwise, we give up the series way too early. But you know what you have to do to see the rest sooner, and I hope to see you in the next part of this battle very, very soon. Man, hopefully we can stop the Federals again, but they are absolutely getting angrier and angrier every episode.